I feel weird now because I'm sat above you, and obviously it'd be inappropriate if I sat on your lap. But welcome back, Eddie Hearn.
Thank you very much. Thank you for attending today, our double press conference.
Double press conference. We spoke about vacuums in boxing, about everything going on in Saudi, bringing it back to the UK, getting these spicy fights, these lovely press conferences where people are ready to go at their throats. How's that feel for you?
It felt good yesterday. I got to be honest. Like, it felt like the old days. Yeah. Sort of left the presser a little bit revitalised and reminded me of the Quigg Framptons and the Froch Groveses and the Hay Bellews, and it's just a great British rivalry. And I think the timing's perfect. You know, I think there is definitely a thought or a movement from us and Queensberry, and I'm sure Sky as well, to make sure that we do big nights in the UK, because the fighters are benefiting and the sport's benefiting from huge fights in Saudi, which is great. But we got to make sure we keep boxing relevant and firing in the UK. And Taylor Catterall is probably the greatest example of that.
At the head of the table, we had Sam Jones, never lacking in character, managed to wind the Scottish crowd up a treat. Did you think about that it could be a bit risky having him up there at the top table?
Oh, you know, it reminded me a little bit of me in Quigg Frampton in Belfast. Do you know what I mean? And I was very green. I mean, when I say green, like, you're still at the top of your game, but as you get older in life, you just become smarter. Not even smarter, just wiser. And Sam is also green, but he's also doing a very good job. And I was just looking at him yesterday during the presser, thinking, I remember this. Like, it's what it felt like for me. I was getting booed, and I was going, come on, and all this kind of stuff. In fact, the more I think about it, I reckon he just wants to be me and just watched me over the years, and he was just probably replicating what I did. Not really. But
are you saying that Sam Jones is like the Wish version of Eddie Hearn?
Someone called it. I'm a promoter. Sam's a manager. Sam is one of, if not the most annoying men in boxing. Not like from a social point of view, just will not leave me alone. But that's what a manager's got to do. Like, if you aren't banging on my door or banging on the team's door and pushing for your fighter non-stop, you're not doing your job. And I know there's been a lot of, he made this fight. Without Sam Jones, this fight wouldn't have happened, because it fell by the wayside and Sam kind of resurrected it, really, and pushed the zone into paying up and delivering it as non-pay-per-view when everybody else wanted to do it pay-per-view. So he deserves a lot of credit, and he's a very good manager. Annoying, but a very good manager. And, I like him personally. I can understand why he's not everyone's cup of tea, but nor am I. So, and who cares?
Picking up that momentum, obviously the first one was on Top Rank and it was on Sky Sports. A fight that these guys have been talking about, and it almost got to the point on Twitter where we're like, this is just not going to happen. We're getting fed up, then all of a sudden it gets announced. That element of surprise that you've given us, because being a boxing fan, I wasn't even sure it was actually going to happen.
Yeah, I think really it'll be almost 2 years to the day where they met. And with a fight so controversial first time around, you would expect the rematch to happen straight away. But I've been there before, that after the controversy, the hatred is like Froch Groves. It reminds me a little bit of that, where after the controversy of the first fight, Carl didn't want anything to do with George. Not because he didn't think he'd beat him, but he didn't like him. And he just thought, do you know what? I've beaten you once. Go away. You go and fight someone else if you're so smart. And it was like, it's only because the fight was so big that it got made instantly next. And this fight, there's so much hatred that's why it's taken so long. But it needs to happen, because it needs to happen for both fighters' legacies, because Josh Taylor, for everything that he's achieved, they will always talk about the Catterall robbery, or whatever you want to call it. You might think he won the fight. Most people didn't. And for Jack, they'll always talk about, you should have won that fight, or you could have been this, or you could have been that. So, the narrative, the rivalry, the debate, all just fuses into a massive fight.
We talk about today. I'm going to push on to today because I know we've got part 2 of that. I'm hoping we get some more Sam Jones comedy value. But we talk about the Barrett Pressa. a very good fight. Yet again, another British card where we're really starting to see these 50-50 fights that you've talked about that we really want to see. We want to push these fighters into this. Talk to us about that card, because we've got some good matchups on there.
I think that's a great card. I mean, you know, obviously at a smaller level to Taylor Catchell, but when you look at the card from top to bottom, Zelfa Barrett against Jordan Gill, great 50-50 matchup. All British, exactly the kind of fights that should be made. You've got Ellie Scotney fighting another world champion, Lafouba in a unification, great fight. Then you go to Cameron Vong against Jordan Flynn, which is like a lower level Taylor Catchell in terms of, you know, rivalry, but fantastic fight, just thrilling for both. Then you got Rhiannon Dixon fighting Carabajal for the world title, very tough fight. You got Gomez Jr. against Kane Baker, one of our favourites. It's an absolute war. You got William Croller, you got Brandon Cook, you got so many fighters, you know, coming through. And, you know, for me, I think that it's one of our best cards top to bottom. And you know, with Zelfa and Jordan, oh, you got Jack Catchell fans here already. You know they're not really going to strangle each other. They're just two great lads. I was quite surprised they both took the fight because they're both positioned for a world title fight. But if they fight each other and win, they're going to be in a great position. And they both think they're going to win. So I think it's a really good fight.
And I think you've just echoed there what Zelfa said. He said it's all right, we can, you know, he can end up fighting for eliminators, but this fight is the best fight for his career. It puts him in that immediate position. Yeah, so he said thanks to you guys for that.
Also, he's getting a chance to headline at the Manchester Arena, which for, you know, as a Manchester kid is a dream. So this is the right fight for him, and it's the right fight for Jordan.
The two young ones, I know you said it there, we've got Jordan Flynn and we've got Cameron Vong. Jordan's sort of a bit spiteful towards him because he's like the favourite and, you know, I'm going to dismantle him. Such a credible fight for Cameron at so early on in his career. Talk to us about that fight, because we talk about 50-50s, Eddie, straight away, so early.
Yeah, I love it because I think there's a lot of jeopardy for both. I mean, fair play to Jordan as well for taking the fight, because if you get beat by a 4-0 prospect, it's never a great look. But you know what? What he said was right. If he gets beat at 4-0 as a great prospect, where does he go? He's actually right, you know, but Cameron should be respected that he's jumping up to those kind of levels. Jordan can fight, you know, like he's a good fighter. And I think Cameron's special, but it is a 10-round war, potentially, but it's also the emotion of the build-up. Do you know what I mean? It's not just as easy as, oh, who am I fighting? Oh, this guy from, I don't know, Croatia. He's 4-2. Okay, boom, nice. It's like he said this, and I want to knock him out, and I want to, you know, he's got to deal with all that as well. So if it all goes well for Cameron, he's going to be flying. But I do expect a really tough fight.
I want to touch on Anthony Joshua, Francis Ngannou. I watched the face-off the other day. Francis Ngannou, obviously, English is not his first language, hence the words that he speaks will be succinct and to the point. There was a few times where Anthony Joshua looked slightly annoyed because of the bluntness of his words, his face. You know Anthony better than any of us. Talk to us about that.
Yeah, I like that. I want AJ to be up for taking him apart because he was with Otto Wallin and it went very well for him. He looks great, AJ. It's a dangerous fight because the guy's 0-1, right? Mm-hmm. He's very strong. He punches very hard. Mentally, he's very tough. And he's capable. But I just don't think he should be beating Anthony Joshua. Like, I feel like he deserved to win or had a great shout in beating Tyson Fury. But I do think Tyson Fury weren't quite at the races that night. But, you know, it's definitely one where you're going to breathe a sigh of relief once you get your hand raised. Because there's lots of bigger things to move on to from a legacy point of view. But this is certainly a fight that everyone's excited about.
One of the things that Ade touched on there when he introduced them both was, Anthony Joshua, you should have been sat opposite Deontay Wilder. That was the fight that we were expecting. I mean, we've obviously had the Saudi involvement. I know that you're not the promoter of Deontay Wilder, but what is actually happening with him? Is that still a potential fight, or is AJ... Okay.
Not really. I mean, listen, if Wilder comes back and has a couple of good wins, definitely. But right now, the only plan is beat Ngannou and become world champion. You know, whether that's going straight into an undisputed fight, whether that's fighting Filip Hrgović, it doesn't really matter. You know, the timing of this was right. But this is tactical to the point where His Excellency has said the winner of this fight will fight the winner of Fury Usyk, and that's what we've always wanted, to be undisputed. So potentially, he's one fight away from fighting for undisputed. Maybe he has to fight Hrgovic, so then he might be 2 fights away from undisputed. But we're on exactly the path that we want to be on. Just got to win on March the 8th.
And what do you think of the contingency plan that Alex Krasiuk's got for Usyk should something happen with Fury and the fight not happen? They've pulled in and said, right, if you don't fight Fury, you're going to fight Hrgovic. Yeah. Talk to us about those sorts of contingencies in boxing. And
because he's pulled out already, Fury. You could be in a situation where, when did Usyk fight? September or August, I think. August of last year against Dubois.
Yes.
Something like that. So therefore, if he pulls out again, if he waits for him, he'll be over a year out the ring. So, Hrgovic is standing by, and if Usyk pulls out, maybe AJ will jump in and fight Fury.
Well, this is what I'm saying. Then does it change the dynamic? Say, for example, if Fury pulls out, say, for example, Usyk fights Hrgovic, Usyk wins, does that then push AJ back into the mix with...
You're confusing me now.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think I'm pretty sure Fury Usyk's going to happen. Both of those guys, even with injuries, I think will get in the ring this time around.
We love it. Listen, Eddie, I know it's time for part 2 of the Magic Pressa Day in Manchester. Thank you, as always, for your time.
No worries. Thanks for coming. Cheers.
People say I'm toxic, and honestly, I don't care.